Yes, and here we are once again. And if you're watching us live, of course, that means it is noon Eastern time on a Wednesday, which is always time for the High Noon Hemp Show, or has been at least for the last 8 years or so, almost 8 years. It's been time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, it is the hemptainment, the hemp infotainment that you need. You can find us in many places, of course, on Facebook is the Temptations Beach Facebook page, also the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. You can go subscribe on there. Better video quality overall, if that's what you want to check out. Also, if you're on X or Twitter, follow at Hemptations. Of course, I'm Stoner Jesus. I do various tomfooleries and shenanigans on the interwebs that you can search out. And he is Beach. He loves hemp, and he is high above the Hemptations in Northside Beach. How are things this week? It's a very warm week in the world of Hemptations.
I do love hemp. It's true. Things are decently okay. We got a little bit before the actual summer equinox, but summer is full blown
Yes.
temperature and environment wise. We got our we're already now to the. It's not the heat; it's the humidity,
It is.
and that's usually not until like even August that we start saying that. So now things are here we are yet another week in the grand world of hemp, back for another great High Noon Hemp Show, and it's going to be a good one, because once again we are now celebrating Hemp History Month. We used to celebrate Hemp History Week, which was normally like the first week of June, and it's interesting, that like I saw a post about that, and it was of course the Woody Harrelson thing, because when Woody got arrested in Kentucky for planting hemp seeds, if you don't know, um, it was in June, which is when you would, again, he went and planted the seeds to say, I'm a farmer, I'm planting my seeds. This is when hemp seeds would go in the ground. And that's why I like celebrating Hemp History Week, the beginning of June, because that is, although, I mean, I suppose as far as metaphorically speaking, if it's the history, maybe we should have done it around the time that we harvest it. But anyway, here we are celebrating now. This has evolved into Hemp History Month. So last week we did 28 million years ago to year zero. Year zero being the biblical year zero. When we were all trying to get on a universal calendar, I guess. I don't know. It's also very confusing, but it's just because we started putting calendars on paper or in rock. The Mayans had a whole different calendar in rock. Maybe that's why the Mayan calendar didn't last, because they didn't put it on paper, like the Europeans or whoever originally did
Rocks
that.
are hard to carry around.
So anyway, here we are this week. I'm going to end the show with year zero up to 1937, which was the year of the Marijuana Tax Act, which made hemp illegal to grow in the grand United States of America. But that's at the end of the show. That means you got to watch the rest. You got to get through all
Right.
that other stuff. And in the news this week, if you're into hemp composites, I don't know how it turned out like it's turning out, but like I believe 80% of my news stories are going to be about hemp composites. Again, it's just the way it turned out. That's why you got to tune in every week, because you just never know. You just never know. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here. Remember, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun, with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. All right, well, we got 156 days left until they can remove Section 781 or change something to stop the ban federally. I talked about last week. There were 3 bills out there that would hopefully do it. Again, in these bills, hopefully, what will happen is any one of these bills will be a part of the next appropriations spending bill, which is how they do this stuff. That's how they did it before. They banned hemp products in a spending bill. Again, our government is so corrupt. It's insane. All right. Because banning any hemp products has nothing to do with a spending bill. And in fact, when you're banning something, you're making it harder for people to spend on it. Anyway, so I'm still holding out hope that logic prevails and something happens. Once again, we're pretty much right at that exact halfway mark. And I will have to say, it started out dismal, and then it was just kind of like, and now it's starting to gain momentum. The more that, I've talked about it every week. I've brought it up every week since the ban, if you've been paying attention. And hopefully those people out there have been paying attention are realizing this is ridiculous. But anyway, and so it's going the right. Everything's going in the right direction. To be honest with you, with something, with the ban being banned, with it being reversed or whatever, I truly think we're going in the right direction. We may even be on track and go in the right direction in Ohio. Again, I am taking no credit for this, but you can go back and watch any of my shows, even the most recent ones, and say, wow, that's exactly what Beach said should be done.
Right.
But, and I think that part of this was the fact that this one business in Ohio, the court declared that this one business in Ohio had the right to sell these products. And I immediately say, well, if a court decided that one business has the right to sell these products, we all have the right to sell these products under consumerism laws. Even if that's not, even if the judgment just was yada, yada, yada business has the right to sell these products. That's what the judgment said. I don't know what the judgment really said, but I'm guessing that's what it said because that's what everybody's reporting on. All right. And again, what we can infer from that judgment is that all businesses can sell these products now. Because if one can do it, we can all do it. And that's under consumerism. And here is the court case to carry into court with you when they show up, if they do. Okay, I'm going to sell the exact same products that this judge said that these people can sell. When you come find me, arrest me, whatever you do to me, I'm walking into court and I'm plopping that judgment right down on the judge's table. And I'm saying, here's your precedence. I was acting in good faith of the ruling of this judgment and believing that my products were legal because these people can do it. Why can't I? And there's not a judge in this state that would say that's not true. That's why we now have a collaborative of, and it's the beverage industry. And I knew it had to be because they're the big losers in this for the most part. Even though I heard a lot of smoke shops lost a lot of money somehow, and again, I don't know how much they were making this much money to begin with, and it makes me very suspicious. But on these products. And I don't know why then, if that was the case, they wouldn't have gotten involved. But I think it was because maybe there was some shadiness going on. I don't know. I'm not here to say.
Hmm.
All I am here to say is someone finally, and again, if they don't do what I just said, if their attorneys for this collaborative of businesses don't tell their attorneys, or if their attorneys aren't smart enough to take that judgment and make that a piece of evidence on top of the fact of the matter is, that before the judge decided this, SB 56 contradicted consumerism laws. All right. Once again, because if one hemp product is legal to sell, all hemp products are legal to sell. That's consumerism laws. It doesn't make any difference the forms. The form of that hemp. If I can sell hemp jeans in my store, I can sell THCA flower from hemp.
Mhm.
100%. That's consumerism laws. Now, by them telling me I can't sell THCA flower in my shops, are they telling me I can't sell jeans? Are they telling me I can't sell t-shirts? Are they telling me I can't sell toothbrushes? Are they telling me that I can't sell all the other 100 of hemp products? No, they're not. And the reason that they're not is because they want you to believe that what they're doing is good for you. And they would never come out and say, well, no, we're banning hemp products. It's just these specific ones. Okay. But by banning hemp in any form, once again, you ban all forms of hemp. That's the way consumerism laws are supposed to work. That's how they protect us and have protected us and have been a big part of this industry. In a lot of states, a lot of the lawsuits that came out from a state banning something won because of consumerism laws. It wasn't because of cannabis laws. It was because of consumerism laws relative to cannabis laws. And that's just what I know. So I'm very, very, very glad, because I honestly thought it was going to be. I really thought everybody was going to wipe it under the table, just kind of sweep the whole thing under the table and ignore it and just go about their day and not fight it, which was very disconcerting. Once again, it doesn't. We sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different hemp products at Hemptations. We always have.
Mhm.
And I have other products. It's like, it was back in the day, even when they tried to, in Ohio, tried to say that it was illegal to sell CBD, which at that point I was like, I never stopped selling in Ohio, even though the state of Ohio was trying to imply, just like they do, just like these things. This is why I dive deeper into what they tell us, because they can say anything. Honestly, they can. Um, and they can put anything on paper, and it doesn't make it real. I had to say something about an avid cannabis fighter out there, and they're so much more worried about the laws and whatnot, and telling people what the law is and what they can and can't do. And I feel you can. Okay, that may be the law, and we now know the laws, but people need to know their rights. Okay? Supposedly, in the state of Ohio, you can't smoke a joint on your porch or in your car in your driveway. No. That's private property. It's legal to smoke cannabis in the state of Ohio. They can't tell you where on your private property you can and can't smoke cannabis. They can't. It's the most ridiculous thing that they want you to. That's like telling you, okay, you can go out and smoke your cigarettes on your porch. They're legal. I would like to see the state of Ohio come along and tell people they can't smoke their cigarettes in their cars, in their driveways, or on their porch. Absurd. They don't have the legal authority to do that. You're talking about something that's legal. We can't say, well, you can't argue anymore. Well, it's illegal, Beach. Well, of course you can't go out on your porch and smoke it. It's 100% legal for me to smoke cannabis on my porch in the state of Ohio. I don't care what they put on paper. And again, this is the absurdity of the defeatist attitude of people in the movement saying, oh, this sucks, I can't do it, instead of saying, no, do it. I implore everyone in the state of Ohio. I told him, I said, I will go smoke on my front porch every day. I'll put a sign in my front yard 10 feet off the street because that's the only part of your property that the government has any authority over. Know your rights, people. From the curb to 10 feet, they can tell you what to do. From 10 feet on to your homestead, anything else, they don't have the right to tell you what to do. All right? Especially when something's legal. When something's illegal, they can tell you what to do. Something's legal, they can't tell you what to do. They can't say you got to go inside to smoke your pot. It's absurd that humans believe this stuff, but they do. Well, they put it in paper, and that's the law, so I guess it's true. It's absurd. And I brought this up, and I tell you who taught me something. He taught me this very lesson. Was Gatewood Galbraith. Okay, because Gatewood Galbraith walked around Lexington smoking pot. He would tell anybody that he had pot on him. I got a joint in my pocket right now. And he challenged the Lexington police to arrest him every day for years. Guess what he was free to do? Run for governor 5 times.
Yeah.
Because he never got arrested once on a drug charge because they knew if they arrested him, because he'd already freed people. He'd already gotten people out. He'd already proven that he knew how to defend someone, including himself. And they weren't going to start that ball of wax. And I can guarantee you this. If I smoke pot on my front porch and the cops show up and arrest me or write me a ticket, it'll never see court. Because I'll go in, I'll plead not guilty, and I want a jury trial. And guess what? The judge is going to say, dismissed. Dismissed. We're not doing that. Because they wouldn't like the precedent it would set, which is the government can't tell you what to do on your front porch if it's legal. The government cannot tell you what to do on your front porch if it's legal. Come on. Anyway. Whew, man, I did not mean to get this fired up. I wasn't even a subject. It just gets me sometimes how
Right.
Sometimes the people in the movement get caught up in the laws that they're talking about, and they forget about our rights, our basic rights as human beings, our rights, laws that are, and again, this is for me, this is, this goes back to You can put a sign up anywhere, and it can say anything. That doesn't mean it's true. And the government tends to tell us things hoping we believe them, and we shut up and go, oh my God, put our ostrich heads back in a hole, whatever it is. That's why they do this stuff. They hope no one ever challenges it and everyone believes it, and then we just got to roll over. We don't. You don't. Know your rights as a citizen of the state of Ohio, as a citizen of the United States of America. That's all I'm saying. All right. Okay. Well, let's get on with this. How about a little product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show?
Indeed.
Okay. The first one, man, do I need some of these with some stuff? Some raw tips. I had to put these back up again because these are like super popular in the world, but these are the pre-rolled raw tips. Super super popular. We just got a fresh batch in, and people love them. And then of course, how about some raw pipe cleaners? A little hemp pipe cleaner. You can make art. You can clean your pipe. You can do all kinds of things with pipe cleaners. Honestly, they're kind of a universal tool. I know I like having them around. How about some hemp composite? Man, I'm just bling 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 bling. Uh, my phones are really excited about hemp composite today. Did you see that? See again, composite. They just say it, and things, bells and chimes go off. These are just some simple. Again, my favorite. You can see one of mine right here behind me. Another one of mine right here. I use these for assorted things. So it's just a nice little. And again, biodegradable. You're done with it. Chuck it in the yard if you want, and eventually it'll just go away. And then this is kind of cool. How about some Merry Hempster's Tattoo Balm? This is just hemp oil is great for the skin, and so you want something for your tattoo that is definitely unscented, doesn't have any of that, and is and once again, I don't recommend petrochemically based because it seals the moisture. You want to just sustain the moisture. You don't want to seal it in there anyway. And you don't want to seal the skin when it's trying to heal itself, in my opinion. And so that's why I think hemp oil is a good way to go. I have used it. I've used this particular product on some of my tattoos. It was a long time ago because I haven't gotten a tattoo in a while, but I will say I use it, and between that and the Aquaphor is probably petrochemically based, but I will have to say I liked it. So, and the one from my door is my Leif's deodorant, and the one thing I love about this hemp Leif's deodorant, and Leif's was this. We carried their brand for a long time. He kind of went away from the hemp on his products, but I just found this recently, and I don't know how old it is. And again, it's just kind of been moving around with me, I guess, for a while. But it's totally fresh. It's unscented. And here's a little tip for y'all today: is when you find yourself an unscented hemp deodorant, or just shoot for a natural whatever deodorant is unscented. And then you get yourself some essential oils of the smells you like, and your deodorant can be any smell you want it to every day. This is what I do. So I use this unscented, and I'll put my essential oils, whatever I feel like smelling like, on it, and there you have it. So you buy one stick of deodorant, and then you just have your essential oils, and if you like them, a little dab. Maybe you're going to be outside. You're worried about bugs. So citronella, which is what I do at night. Little citronella, little lemongrass. You know, and so that's what I do. And there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on
Indeed.
the Noon Hemp Show.
Which, of course, brings us to the ever popular, growing in popularity, not yet award winning, but soon, one day, award winning beachwear segment. We chronicle many things. In the beachwear segment specifically, we chronicle all of the hemp clothing that Beach has, the many hemp records, clothing wise, and in other areas that Beach has set and currently holds when it comes to hemp. And of course, we talk about the Guinness World Records, who does not care about hemp. Their specific policy is nothing about hemp, nothing about cannabis. Everything else is pretty much on the table except for that. So they leave it to us, which I guess in the end we should be grateful for, that they've left us that little niche, if you will, of world records for our very own, that they're going to completely ignore. But we like to also go look at what they are talking about, because sometimes it's important. Most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's ridiculously just useless. But it is Pride Month this month, and this is focused on charity. So it is something. It's over 1,000 Marilyn Monroe impersonators gathered for Palm Springs Pride. Although I don't want to be that guy, but I want to point out this guy right here, he's not wearing the wig. I'm not an impersonator. I don't know the standards. I'm not an impersonator judge.
I just showed up in this dress. I don't know what all these people are doing.
There's got to be certain standards to impersonation, and I would think with Marilyn Monroe impersonators, you got to have the wig on. This guy, I hope this guy didn't count in the numbers. What I'm saying, this guy should not be counted in the number. He's like, no, this is it. You get the sunglasses and the dress. That's it. I'm not doing the wig. I don't think that's right. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he should have been counted. Anyway, there's a bigger picture of the overhead shot of a lot of Marilyn Monroe impersonators. It was also celebrating her 100th birthday. It also was a fundraiser to support the 40-year-old Palm Springs Pride organization. They ended up with 1,037 participants. But again, this guy doesn't count. So hopefully it was 1,038, and they marked him off the list, because I hope they reprimanded him as well before he left.
Oh, he's just super wig. His partner forgot to bring his wig.
There's got to be somebody with a wig you can borrow. There's so many wigs. So many Marilyn Monroe.
He's going to be wigless. Yeah, hey, can I borrow your wig? Hey, can I borrow your wig? Hey, can I borrow your wig?
I love how he made the top picture, and he stands out so much because of his lack of a wig.
Here's something you didn't think about, something that I have shown on the High Noon Hemp Show. What if it was a hemp wig and they made him take it off?
Right. So that doesn't fly. That's hemp. Get out of here. Get out of here, buddy.
You cannot be Marilyn Monroe in a hemp wig. No, sir. Or man.
Some black slick back hair and say, hey, I'm Marilyn Monroe. Okay. Thank you, Guinness World Records, for that. But what we are focused on, of course, is something more important, much more important than that guy not having a wig, and that is the beachwear segment. We find out what Beach is wearing today. All we have to ask him is one very simple question, and that is, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you are curious and you want to know, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you will. Here for this Hemp History Week. As promised, on top there, I went with, and this hat has never been on the show. It was kind of a misprint when we were making, embroidering our own stuff at Planet Everywhere. But it kind of went with the theme, with the red, white, and blue theme. So I thought, you know what, why not? But that's Roll Local. That's a fair hemp Roll Local. If you don't know Roll, or a local skate park, I owned local skate park, and Roll Local was like our tagline. Anyway, the necklace around the old neck there, that's the old beach made necklace. Probably at least 20 years old, most likely. My Hemp History t-shirt from 2015 is the Recreator. The one thing, this was one of the only hemp t-shirts. I like it because it's like super thin, like, kind of super thin t-shirt consistency, but it's actually only 30% hemp.
Hmm.
And so, uh, you know, it's, but it's Hemp History Week. It's hemp. It still works. My shorts, those are large shorts, not just in size, but brand name large. And it's really LRG, so I guess you could really just fill in whatever vowels you wanted to. Maybe you want to call them Ligur. I don't know. Anyway. And then around my waist there, I got a Hempy's belt. In my pocket, I had misplaced my pen for a moment there. You may have noticed that the last couple of weeks, but it's back. Is my Green Springs Technology pen. It was interesting because I saw a post today, and it was an IA generated um, hemp composite pen, ballpoint pen thing, And I was like, "Well, here's a real one," and I sent him a picture of a real hemp composite pen, just to let them know they didn't actually have to show a IA generated picture. They could actually show one that exists to prove that they exist, not that it's just an idea. Anyway, I love bad briefs. I forget who made my no shows. I remember I got them on Amazon, but I often forget. It's been so long ago. But and then on my old feet though are my vegan Saucony Jazz sneakers. So if you were curious, now you know. What are you wearing, Beach? Here on the High Noon Hemp Show. All right. Well, here is, I believe this is one of the trailers that I have made whenever at some point. And then we'll be back with some news and some history.
Into the Hemptations.
Into the Hemptations. Get on into the Hemptations.
Right.
We are still around 3844 Spring Grove Avenue in Northside, Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a parking lot. Find it. Anyway, if you are in Tennessee, you can no longer have any THCA after July 1st, just so you know. Once again, I'm almost, if this does not get challenged, I will be very surprised. In fact, I'm almost surprised that it hasn't been challenged yet. I didn't know anything about this, so I don't know if this was just like, one of those things where they just did something and bam, or if they've known about this for a while or not. But I feel like there's a very good chance that, that we may see a challenge. And the DEA is getting sued because they came out and said that all synthetics from hemp are illegal. Guess what? They're not. All right. And I'm pretty sure I may have mentioned this before. Because once again, until the actual ban goes through, the DEA has no authority to regulate hemp in any way. They forgot that that was the key component to the 2018 Farm Bill. Okay? Hemp was taken off the controlled substance list. No hemp products can be regulated by or enforced or whatever by the DEA. None. Not one. Not one. Now, here's what they'll do is they'll continue to tell us that HHC and all these things are illegal, which is technically true if extracted from marijuana, but 100% not true when extracted from hemp. That's why we have a legal definition of hemp now, which clearly says the DEA has no authority over it. So they can't say that. They have no authority to say that. They can say all day long that HHC is illegal. All day long. Even though I don't know what this whole scheduling thing's going on or where that puts it in there. Has it been taken off the controlled substance list? No, because it just got rescheduled. So they still have authority. They can still regulate anything from marijuana because marijuana is still technically federally illegal. Okay. So they're definitely going to get checked. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that that they're going to get told that they can't say that. I guarantee it because I've seen this before. They've gone through this before. Again, they don't care. Like I said, they say things hoping we'll just believe them. Like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds right. You know, I mean, the DEA should be able to tell me what's illegal and what's legal, right? No, they actually can't. Honestly. Anyway, check this place out. This is called The Forest. It's designed by Woods Baggett. What a great name, Woods Baggett. It was featured in the sustainability category of the Australian Institute of Architects Tasmanian Architecture Awards. Try saying that a couple times. Period. But, you know, again, wow. I'll take one of those.
Right.
I mean, you know, I'll definitely take one of those. What a beautiful structure to begin with, and you know they hempcrete where they could, so all you know the structure itself is the hempcrete part of it. And again, the Australians are really they're you know they're moving forward as fast as anybody in hempcrete in all forms. So, you know, it really didn't surprise me because, you know, it's the future of building. I can't, you know, I could have said it 10 years ago and then we may have to wait a little bit more. But I'm telling you right now that there is zero doubt in my mind that hemp is in 10 years from now going to be the primary construction material if and when it can. Honestly, I mean, there's so many reasons to do it. All in all, if we were growing enough to keep up with the demand, it would be cheap. Okay. All in all, as far as saleability, why people wouldn't choose it, although it's the same thing as to why I don't understand architects don't try to get more people to put solar panels on their roof. And again, it's not the architect's job to do that, but nobody else is promoting it. And again, there's no way I would invest in building a home that the roof wasn't solar panels. The whole roof, solar panels. It would just, and it seems so ignorant that we have gone this long building so many structures without solar panels on it. And again, I
Mhm.
understand depending on where you live. I am sure that there are places that, yes, that's why they do the studies. But here's what they did the studies here a long time ago. And Cincinnati gets more sunlight than average. So, um, why it's not used more, I don't know. But, hempcrete going to be, it's because, and they have to. And they know they have to because they have to look for other sources for the gravel and the sand anyway. So, all right, what a beautiful place. What a beautiful place. Put a tent right there in the middle and sleep in there. No, why would you even need a tent? I'm just gonna lay my sleeping bag right down in the middle of that place.
Right.
Never leave. What a place to go to and squat. Like I've never wanted to squat somewhere more, more than this hemp building
There
until
you
now.
go.
Like I'm gonna have to go back through all the hemp stuff that I'm gonna put my 10 topless places I want to squat at.
There you go.
10 hemp construction places that on my top 10 squat list. Anyway, oh shoot. Panda Biotech. Talk about somebody that's going to own an industry real soon. And I've talked about them before. But they are now supporting India's first fully integrated fiber to yarn supply chain. And again, they're here in the States already. And they've been here operating in the States. If memory serves me correctly, I think Texas, and then I believe they were opening up another plant the last time I reported. But I've been reporting on Panda Biotech for a while. So anyway, they're moving into India, and India is trying to get away from cotton because of the chemicals, and it's destroyed the crops. And so I think that there's a big move in India for the fiber. Um, and it won't surprise me. And the only reason I suppose that we don't hear much about hempcrete in India is because they build all these concrete structures, uh, and they rely on the crete to support them. And of course, with load bearing, hempcrete is not legal or supported as load bearing yet. Um, but I was blown away with the concrete architecture in India, honestly, because here it's just pretty plain. We don't do anything, but there it's like decks and overhangs, and I mean it's ornate architecture, all done in concrete. And I don't know once again whether hempcrete would be strong enough to support that, but finding the right hempcrete to do that, as I've reported, the school did that, but we haven't seen that come to fruition yet. A load-bearing crete, but and then I think that India would probably they'd go bonkers for it, and they love to make bricks, and so I don't know why they wouldn't be making hemp bricks over there as well. Um, we'll see, but Panda Biotech, they're gonna be. Um, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now, when hemp is controlled by 10 different businesses across the world, because that's how it is. Right now, everyone has the potential to get in on the hemp industry and succeed. In 20 years, it will be no different than every other industry that's in this country. It will be controlled by 10 different businesses across the planet. because that's the food industry, that's the drink industry, that's the clothing industry, it's everything. You know, as far as industries go, hemp is a grassroots industry. The big players aren't there yet. There are some, and they're creeping in, but they're not there yet. Everyone right now is climbing the same ladder. Honestly, everyone in the hemp industry, no matter what direction you go, you're climbing the same ladder. I don't understand why um, uh, entrepreneurs, startups, whatever the freak you want to call them, why they're not. I mean, to me, there's 1,000 different startups that you could start tomorrow on just about equal ground with whatever the existing industry is in hemp, whatever it is. There's no unified hempcrete industry. It's a bunch of little players. I mean, it's so much opportunity. So much opportunity. How about some GG collections? Look at this kimono, sporting the kimono. Now, GG's actually collection is out of the UK. But the kimono and hemp has a very, very, very long history. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the history part. Uh, so, but this is very. I mean, again, I really like it. It's plain. It's not, like fashiony. It's like something I think people would actually wear. As far as again, I know a kimono is not a popular, hugely popular clothing here in the United States, but with certain cultures, it still is, and so anyway, it's pretty neat, pretty cool. How about this? The Department of Energy, yes, the United States Department of Energy. This project is going to focus on hemp retrofit SIPs. So these are paneling, and this is low embodied carbon, hemp based insulated cladding system for buildings. Okay, Department of Energy project trying to get this approved, and they believe they can get a 15 to 25% HVAC energy savings by using these. And here's the real kicker. Once again, we grow enough to keep up with the demand, and they believe that they can make these at about $1 a panel compared to the $3 to $7 a panel that exists in today's market. And that's the this sums up the superiority of hemp and why, once again, no one that exists now wants these products on the shelf, because they're selling their panels for $3 to $7. All of a sudden, you can come along and find something that's the same structurally sound, but is actually more efficient for energy. Oh crap! We don't want that to exist. But guess what? The Department of Energy is coming doing this. This is this is a project for the Department of Energy. Um, so, does that mean they're going to figure out that it works well and then just use it on their buildings? We never got anything out of solar panels either, and they've been having that technology's been around for the government for 50 years anyway. But once again, the whole industry, insulation, and there's so many different ways to break up the insulation. This is actually not insulation. This is siding. Okay, so it's different because we already knew about. There's insulation on every form. Hempcrete's an insulation. We have hemp fiber insulation. We know it is superior, works just as well, if not anything else, antimicrobial. Now we have siding. Siding is a huge industry. I mean, in the construction market, once again, um, siding is a massive, massive part of, especially inexpensive housing. To be honest with you, if I truly believe that, and again, I'm not, whatever it is, um, that's what it is. And so now you can save even more on building inexpensive houses, and then you don't have to sell them super expensive, and people can afford to buy them. So the mechanical properties of biofiber, like I say, mechanical properties of biofiber reinforced polymer composites is highly reliant on fillers that are added. And this, I'm actually quoting an article. Um, it says hemp can be discussed as fibers, which can considerably enhance the strength and stiffness because its nature does provide it with some superior features. All right. Now that's different than what they're talking about the siding. This was not in the siding article, but this is the hemp composites that BMW is already using in their electric vehicles. Um, it's like I don't we call it fiberglass, but it's really plastic. Um, and again, BMW dropped their body weight by 20% by putting these hemp composite. And you can see, I'll have to at some point find my picture of the BMW door, hemp door. But you can see the fiber in there too. You know what I mean? In the composite, sometimes you can see that fiber. So I can understand how, it's the one of the reasons why fiberglass is exponentially stronger is because of the fiber um, adding a layer of somewhat bendability. And this, they're telling you that they're also saying that um, it can still provide proper stiffness in your composite. And so, that's once again, this we could replace 60% of the plastics that are used in these. There's no reason why every car door couldn't have hemp composite as the part. I mean, this all, hemp in vehicles all started with Mercedes Benz and BMW 30 years ago. I guess I should save this for the history, but there was composites, sunroof composite, venting composite. Um, and so, I'm almost surprised it's taken so long to get where it's gotten in the auto industry. But there's more proof. If you add a hemp fiber to any composite, it will make it stronger and better. So do it. The Alliance for European Flax, Linen, and Hemp out of Paris is using a new wave of technological advancements demonstrating the importance to the advanced composites manufacturing process. And so you look at this structure, once again, is made from hemp composites. Um, and, I think that's the next real proof that these are valid, maybe, is that they're structurally sound. I guess the real experiment is how long can it be out in nature before it starts to break down? How much rain, snow, elements can hemp composite take? Um, uh, and so, either way, large scale projects will just prove that the small scale projects are inevitable and should be happening everywhere. Once again, the industries that are making these plastics now, they don't want you to know that you can make them out of a natural substance. Their supply chain is well established. So why would they want you to know that what they're doing could easily be replaced sustainably with a plant? They don't. That's why we are where we are. Again, I mean, it's not a conspiracy. It's capitalism. Capitalism is what has held modern hemp advancement back, because the capitalists that are making all their money on their current products don't want you to become a successful capitalist in hemp, because that threatens them. Challenge. Morgan up. Here's some blocks. Again, bricks. Basically, I think that, and this is a company in Spain. And the Spanish are very cannabis friendly. All in all, they like their cannabis for everything. So this is kind of neat. This company is called Morgan Up, and they're in Spain, and they're focusing their hempcrete on what they call eco blocks, which I think like a paved sidewalk with hemp blocks. You know what? I just thought of a picture that I meant to show, and I usually, every once in a while, randomly show the picture of the hempcrete that has like the layers of different colors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I finally found one of those where they had done the layers and they had used green, which was new. I had not seen green.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. So you could easily make these bricks out of different colors and have, it's just the potential for them not to build a house with, for that matter, is, great. But I mean, if hempcrete can't be a load bearing, can you build a hempcrete block house? Because to me, it's kind of, I feel different. Like spraying in hempcrete. I don't know. More science to figure out. That's for sure. We really want I want the science on it, and so does everybody else, because we're talking about building materials. So yes, I want to know that they can. I'm not going to build a house out of hemp just because I can.
Yeah.
That seems like a good way to wake up dead.
Buried in hemp.
I mean, it might be a good way to go if you love hemp, but again, I don't want to find out. And so anyway, um, and now, in a Brazilian study found that hemp fibers could extend life of recycled paper products. Well, of course it could. I use 75%. 25% hemp, 75% recycled paper. I've been using it for 20 years. I know that we made a sign with each letter on it for the Northside Parade on my pontoon boat, and we made it the USS Temptations, and it just kind of strung alongside with hemp paper. That it sat outside with that on. It got rained on twice, and I still have those pieces of paper that look like they basically just came out of the ream. And so there is no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that recycled paper with even a little bit of hemp fiber in it would definitely make that paper last longer, be better. So Ina holds, and I'm not sure what these little things do, but they are now a large scale production of climbing holds. Did I?
Like this,
Yeah, that's it.
right?
That blue thing, I guess, is called a climbing hold. I don't know if it's like something you put in a crevice. I don't know. I'm not. I have zero interest in climbing straight up rocks. Zero interest. Folks. Not the first climbing accessory that we've seen. Might be the first hemp composite accessory that I've reported on here. But Manastash, some of his first products 30 years ago were actually climbing chalk bags and backpacks geared for climbers and things like that. So, yeah, and I'm not sure if they're showing like the brush. I really not. I don't know. A climber would have to tell me what really one of those does. All I can tell you is this company, and I believe they're in France as well. They're using local hemp wherever they are to make these products.
Looks like there's like little screw holes for like a rock climbing wall or something like that. Maybe it's like maybe they
That's
screw for
what
that.
climbing holds. I get it. So you put that on there on the wall.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I see. So you want to build yourself a rock climbing wall. I see it now. You're wondering, good eye. Good eye. I totally get it now. That totally makes sense.
There you
So, coming to your rock climbing wall facility soon. Either way.
go. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, there you have it. Okay. I didn't really have any events this week. There's some stuff coming up, I think, and I'll get it out there eventually. But and again, feel free if you have a hemp event, email me hemptations@me.com. Same as if you have a question that you'd like me to address on the show, hemptations@me.com, or through the Facebook page or however else you want to do it. Let me know and try to get it talked about. All right. Well, let's talk a little hemp history. Let's go from what happened between year 0 and 1937. Well, I mean, I think that by the end of 1937, you have the destruction of the hemp revolution. We're leading up to year 0. If you didn't watch last week, the Vikings are using hemp. It's pretty much all over China, Russia, India, making its way across Europe, in through Europe, and it's kind of where we left off. The Chinese had just invented hemp paper maybe a couple hundred years before year 0, and so advancing on that, you have Gutenberg using hemp paper in the Gutenberg press, printing the Gutenberg Bible. So the original Gutenberg Bibles, the famous Gutenberg Bibles, printed on hemp paper. You find hempcrete, not concrete, hempcrete in India over this is year 1000 or so. That was covering art structures to protect it for some reason or another. That's the oldest hempcrete so far that we've found remaining. And then you come up to 600 years or so ago, and you've got the French bridge that still stands. The butts of the bridge were made out of hemp, and it still functions as a bridge. I don't think they drive vehicles over it. I'm not positive. When Napoleon unsuccessfully invaded Russia. The reason he was going there is because the Russians defaulted on their agreement to supply the French with hemp. The whole reason Napoleon took off in the middle of the winter like a jackass, as history has told it. I'm just,
Mhm.
like one of the biggest military mistakes ever made, for my opinion. I'm not a huge studier of military mistakes or military action, um, but he was going there because the Russians had defaulted on a deal with them and was agreeing to give hemp to some other country. And that's how important hemp was in Europe at that time. And it tells you how important hemp was here to the revolution. We would not, from let's just look at from basically year zero to even the discovery. Duh. I don't know. I can't even. I'm not going to say discovery. When the Europeans came, when the first Europeans came here, all right, um, none of that would have been possible. Right, wrong, or indifferent. The traveling of the world, the exploring of the world during that time could not have happened without hemp.
Mhm.
Could not have happened without hemp. Hemp sails, hemp riggings, hemp clothing, hemp tar, sealing the insides of the bottom parts of the ships.
Mhm.
I mean, literally, top to bottom, hemp. Top to bottom, hemp. No other sails material, no other material. Hemp is the strongest natural material in the world. Hemp was the only material that could successfully get those ships around the world. We may not have explored the world as we had until possibly metal, if we hadn't used hemp. I don't know. I don't know. But that's a fact. Thomas Jefferson illegally smuggled 500,000 pounds of hemp seed out of Russia through the UK. This is where it was illegal. It was illegal for him to take that seed. So he smuggled hemp seed through the UK to get it to the United States so we could grow hemp here. Hemp was not indigenous to this land.
Mhm.
Hemp was not indigenous to the Americas. Hemp had not made it to the Americas. Probably got cut off at the Bering Strait. If that would have stayed connected long enough, it might have come across and come down as the indigenous people of the Americas did. But when they were doing that, it wasn't into Russia yet. That was 30,000 years ago. Wasn't into Russia 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, somewhere in there. So, that's the whole reason that cannabis, no cannabis, no cannabis in the Americas before the Europeans got here. We brought it here, um, and that was that. That was that. And so, almost all if the president was a farmer, he was growing hemp. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Um, I don't think Adams did. Here's some history that I think is fascinating, and every single person, at least here in the United States, every single person here in the United States knows about Ben Franklin's experiment on the conductivity of electricity in lightning.
Mhm.
If not for hemp, he may not have discovered that. Because the piece of twine that was connected to the key, that was connected to the kite, that was actually made out of silk, I believe, because of the hemp kite got too heavy to fly in the conditions. But anyway, um, lightning strikes. Guess what Franklin observes? The hair on the hemp twine goes up. Hemp twine is a conductor of electricity.
Hmm.
If he did not observe the hairs on the hemp twine going up, he wouldn't known that there was electricity running through there. Therefore, proving his hypothesis using hemp. He also, as you know, had his own publication, and he also printed everything on hemp paper for his publication. It's amazing. As you know, again, as modern humanity, I'll just say, it's kind of modern. I'll attribute it to the modern humanity, right, wrong, or indifferent, like I said. But I don't believe that. I mean, I don't. There's no doubt in my mind that humans would not be as successful as humans as we are if it wasn't for hemp. I mean, the two highest populated countries in the world, China and India, both had hemp food as a sacred food 5,000 years ago. Is it a coincidence that hemp food is high in protein, omega 6, omega 3 essential fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest grain, if not the healthiest green vegetative matter grown on the planet out there for you to eat? I mean, is it correlation? Is it causation? I don't have any doubt in my mind that hemp played a huge part in helping populate China and India. What it provided them was essential to their progression to evolve as a more modern humanity. Whatever, for whatever way you want to define that, I guess. Um, you know, if we're going to wear clothes, hemp clothes make sense. And it's just these things that, anyway, and I think it definitely allowed, the hunters and gatherers. We know that because it came out of the Fertile Crescent, one of the first agrarian grown crops, as I, talked about last week, that it allowed them to come out of that whole society and establish, if you're not I mean, they still were hunting, I'm sure. But if you were hunting less, then you had less hides to make clothing out of. All of a sudden you're growing this grain plant, or you're going to hemp for fiber, because again, the oldest hemp that we found is the fiber. Now that doesn't mean that they weren't growing for the grain, and we found the fiber because it's tough to find remnants of hemp grain in any sort, but the fiber, as we can see in the right conditions, can last forever. That's why it's very difficult to, I mean, honestly, somewhat difficult to prove the diet of animals that lived, say, 10,000 years ago, including humans. We come across sites and we find things on occasion. You know, and again, they find hemp in fire pits and things like that. So we know that it was being burned in fire pits at certain points. But, it's very difficult. And even harder before we became agrarians and we stopped, because the more that we were moving around, the less that we were, um, if we left anything behind, I'm sure that any animals or whatever would have cleaned up after us, or at that point it would deteriorate and go back to nature, so to speak. And so it, it's amazing, honestly, when you think about it that way. Um, the oldest hemp house, 300 years old. And it is made out of the stalks. The walls are all the stalks. The roof are the stalks. It's held together, roped together to the wood structure with hemp rope. Um, and they say that this is in Japan. It still exists. You can go. It's now a hemp museum. They say the samurai stayed there, and yada yada yada. And so, that's the oldest hemp house. Now, I don't see, maybe if I was growing hemp for grain and I had a whole field full of stalks to mess around with, I might build myself a little fun structure like that. I would build a barn. I'd build a barn out of hemp stalks. It's the structure itself. When you look at this structure, is very simple, just like any basic frame. Um, and so it would be very simple. Be a waste of hemp in my opinion, because it'd be better off just to go ahead and make some hempcrete out of the outer, the best, and then make some clothing out of the fiber. But it'd be fun if you had a whole lot of it left over. Someday we'll live in that world. We're not even close now. Just a little structure. If I can find somebody to donate a trailer full of hemp stalks,
Right.
be kind of fun. Kind of fun. All right. Well, um, so we get into the 1900s. 1800s. It's well established. Still paper source, fiber source. We get into the 1900s. One interesting thing comes along, and that is um, wood pulp paper. And a lot of us who have studied enough about hemp um, don't find it as much coincidental that William Randolph Hearst purchased 500,000 acres of timber for paper, was also the news publications across the country that were spreading the lies about marijuana. When I say yellow journalism, what do you think of? What does that bring to mind to you? Do you think of like journalists throwing shade and not like honest reporting? Because yellow journalism has nothing to do with either of those things. Yellow journalism describes the time period where wood pulp paper was so inferior to hemp paper that it would turn yellow very quickly and deteriorate. They had to figure out how to make the paper better right out of the gate. And again, this was you can make paper out of trees. So I'm going to buy a bunch of trees to make paper out of. When right out of the gate, it's proven that it is 100% inferior to the paper we've been using for 2,000 years. Again, it's like a whole industry created just to have control over an entire industry. And then because that happened, the better industry.
Oh, I think Beach got a phone call, and now Beach is gone. But Beach will return with more hemp history and, of course, hemp news. And then we'll wrap up the High Noon Hemp Show. But Beach has to return because he is the High Noon Hemp Show. He knows a lot more about hemp history than I do, which isn't saying a lot. I mean, I know quite a bit, but, nobody knows more than Beach. Who knows what the phone call is about? Who knows what's going on? But we await his return. Of course, make sure, the High Noon Hemp Show is right there on the bottom every week. Every Wednesday on Facebook, YouTube. Also, make sure you check out the X at Hemptations on X. Again, the better video quality, of course, would be on YouTube, Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. And the return of Beach.
I don't know what the heck that was weird. I mean, I know why it happened, but then it was anyway. So I'm back. So, here we take over the entire industry. And then of course, 1937 comes about, the Marijuana Tax Act. Hemp farmers had no idea. Hemp farmers didn't even know they were talking about hemp when they were talking about marijuana. Doctors implored them not to do this as well. And it happened. In that same year, DuPont filed for 2 patents for synthetic fiber. Once again, timing is everything. Hemp being a clothing option, strongest natural fiber on the planet, synthetic fibers come along. Can't make hemp, you can't grow hemp to make hemp clothing out of in the United States anymore. And that, folks, is where we're going to leave it with the history. The cancellation of hemp as a farming commodity in the United States. Sad as it is. Saddest, guaranteed, saddest day in the history of nature ever.
Indeed.
The most reckless day of humanity pertaining to nature ever. It literally took us backwards. And it makes sense because here we come out of the, machine revolution, the Iron Age, and all these things, man. Nature, no one gave a shat about nature in the early 1900s. In more ways than one. That's when we became the disposable humans. just throw it away. We'll get something new. That was the start of that. The Depression checked them, but we went right back to those checks and means because the Depression was more about the stock market and that scam. If we had continued to grow hemp, I don't know if we would have stayed out of the Depression. No, we were growing hemp during the Depression. Sorry. I should get my timelines straightened. But, that was also probably the Depression was the reason. Anyway, that's a whole nother matter. Something else that a whole lot of people don't correlate with the Marijuana Tax Act, and that's the fact that hemp oil can be used when Adolf. Here's a little bit of history I left off before 1937, which is kind of important. When Adolf Diesel was inventing the diesel engine, hemp oil was one of the oils that he was using. It was an all-natural biodiesel. It was biodiesel. Then the petrochemical companies said, hey, we can make this biodiesel out of oil. Screw growing plants for it. Let's just suck it out of the ground. And biodiesel went away. But you can pour hemp oil in Mercedes diesel engine. There's a particular one, and it will act as a fuel. It has a very high flash point. That's why. But there's another natural substance, hemp oil, worked perfectly fine in the diesel engine. Worked perfectly fine in the diesel engine. The biodiesel was fine before we started drilling for oil to make diesel on. Again, it's just like the paper thing. Because we could, we did, and it was a terrible decision. It was a terrible decision. I mean, can you imagine how much cleaner the planet would be if we would have just stuck with biodiesel? Never made diesel fuel out of petrochemical-based oil. Fossil fuels, as they like to call them. They call them fossil fuels because that sounds like we're using the fossil for fuel and it's a good thing. Well, they're not fossils. Fossils don't look like oil. And yes, the only, whatever. And so, yet another hemp product basically destroyed by greed. And availability of oil at the time. And we know we're running out of that. We will never run out of hemp. Guess what's still going to be growing on this planet when we destroy it? Hemp. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. It will still be growing if we destroy the planet. And in fact, it will be growing so prevalent that after we've destroyed ourselves and destroyed all the shit that we've just shit all over the planet with, the planet will be like, the air will be never so better.
Right.
I don't know. It's that too is just a hypothesis. But, the fact of the matter is we know that hemp takes more carbon out of the air than trees do. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Next week, we will do 1937 to probably the present. I feel like maybe the last month I might do like the future of the history of hemp. Because, come on. I should be able to do the future of the history of hemp. So, yeah, next week we'll do 1937 to present. Man.
It's a lot.
What a roller coaster that is. Be fun, nonetheless. All right, everybody. Appreciate you watching the High Noon Hemp Show. We'll be back next week for more Hemp History Month facts. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.